public hearing. I need a motion to allow Commissioner Schulman and Commissioner Flowers to participate by Zoom.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, motion and a second. Can we just take a voice vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Is Josh still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. All right. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive public input and allow the public to ask questions concerning the authority's proposed millage rate and proposed operating and capital budget for fiscal year 2023. Tonight, we will consider the tentative millage rate and tentative 2023 budget, with the final vote coming in 2 weeks. Copies of our proposed FY 2023 PSTA budget are in our packet and available if you have not already obtained one. The proposed FY 2023 budget totals $158,016,200, with an operating budget of $113,276,130, and a capital budget of $44,740,070. PSTA's fiscal year 2023 proposed millage rate is unchanged at 0.7500. The fiscal year 2023 rolled back rate is 0.6675. The fiscal year 2023 proposed millage rate of 0.750 is 12.36% higher than the rollback rate. PSTA's millage rate limit is 0.75. The proposed property tax rate is used to fund the FY 2023 budget.
Okay, now I will read this staff statement for the record. This public hearing has been scheduled so that the general public may be given the opportunity to comment on the proposed millage rate and budget for fiscal year 2023. A paid advertisement concerning this public hearing appeared in the Tampa Bay Times on August 28th. Notices were posted at the Park Street Terminal, Grand Central Station, Williams Park, Pinellas Park Transit Center, PSTA Administrative Headquarters, and on PSTA buses, and on PSA's website on August 26th. An announcement was posted on social media on August 26th. To date, staff has received no comments from the public concerning the issue.
Okay, and we have Al Burns, Director of Procurement, Nick Sagan, Manager of Financial Planning and Analysis, and Debbie Leos, Chief Financial Officer, to give us a presentation. Al?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board.
Good morning.
Al Burns, your highly motivated budget director. Today, we're here to present the FY 2023 proposed budget. And I would just like to say and thank Mr. Brad Miller for allowing me the opportunity to become the budget director, and I've learned a tremendous amount this year. Additionally, my boss, Ms. Debbie Leas, my main mentor, and I'm so grateful for her leadership through this process. And then the budget team, Mr. Nicholas Sagan, the Financial Planning and Analysis Manager, and Mr. Kevin Lai behind me. Next slide, please. Okay. This one. During the summer, the team, we continued to work on the budget, refining numbers, strategizing on timing of the use of the COVID funds and relief funds, and much, much more. The budget is supportive of our sustainable strategic plan. And as Mr. Miller says, the 3 pillars for PSTA: environmental sustainability, financial sustainability, economic vitality, and social sustainability, health and wellness. Next slide, please. Madam Chair, this evening I am pleased to bring before you a balanced operating budget of $113.3 million But really, what really impressed me through this whole process was that PSTA is the 7th largest transit agency out of 35 transit agencies in the great state of Florida. And we have the 4th highest ridership. We also are members of the ABBG, American Bus Benchmarking Group, and we are among the most efficient amongst our peers. For fiscal year 2023 through 2027, our capital improvement plan is $174.1 million, with $44.7 million in FY 2023. Madam Chair and members of the board, I may be biased, but even though we're the 7th largest with the 4th largest ridership, PSTA, in my humble opinion, is number 1. With that, I'd like to turn it over to my boss, Ms. Debbie Leas.
Thank you, Al. You know, these last couple months has almost been like a crescendo of good news and more funding. And of course, we've got coming up next month, the grand opening of the Sunrunner. And we are going to have 6 months of going fare-free, which is very hard for a CFO to say, but we're going fare-free, which I think is wonderful to be able to get people used to riding the system. In addition, over the summer, our mobility department has been working on an app for our paratransit access team and our customers. And this app allows our customers to basically basically reserve a ride anytime, day or night, 24/7. They can put in their favorite location so that reservations become very easy to do. They can also cancel a ride. And between the improvements that we've made in our paratransit access and mobility on demand, and along with this new app, our budget includes increased ridership. And then yesterday, our personnel committee met. And at that committee, it was a unanimous approval to go ahead and for our non-union members to be able to have market rate adjustments up to 100% of midpoint. This impacts approximately 100 of our employees. In addition, the Personnel Committee voted for a 2% merit increase for our non-union employees. In addition, the budget includes revised rates for the 2nd year of our union contract. Now, those are all great things that have happened over the summer, but there's so much more that has gone on. So we're excited to share some more good news on grants as we go through the presentation. Nick Sagan will update you on one of those grants next.
Thanks, Debbie. So good morning, or good evening, board members, not good morning. My name is Nick Sagan, Manager of Financial Planning and Analysis. I just wanted to say, it's been a long budget season, and it took a lot of hard work, and so thank you to the team. Because of that hard work, we're here presenting good news. And so since we proposed the budget in June, we've gotten a couple of good news items that we're going to present to you. First, the TD Tampa Bay service is back because of the hard work of Heather Sobush and her team and Bonnie Epstein and her team. PSTA was awarded $1 million from the Tampa Bay Transportation Disadvantaged Commission. I'm sorry, the Florida Commission for Transportation Disadvantaged. And this is a true regional transportation disadvantage partnership between Pinellas County, Hillsborough County, and Pasco County. It offers curb-to-curb regional trips. More good news since the last budget. We've seen decreases this summer in fuel prices, so we were able to effectively lock in about 67% of the diesel fuel that we'll need for fiscal year 2023. On top of that, as Debbie mentioned, we were able to keep the equity adjustments in this budget. That included the new union deal and the administrative folks going up to 100% of midpoint. On top of all that, because of the hard work from my fearless leader, Al Burns, and a great procurement process, we were able to keep the healthcare increases to a reasonable 4.5% escalation, which isn't so bad. And I'll hand it back to Debbie.
I think this is my favorite slide out of the fact it's a balanced budget. But this is out with the old and in with the new. Of course, you can see on here the photo of our aging, sagging Park Street terminal and a lovely rendering of what we envision for our Clearwater Multimodal Transit Center. And over the summer, we got some new estimates on the project at $44.5 million with inflation. And I am pleased to say we are funded and working on getting additional funds. We've got $20 million we are awarded through the RAISE grant. That's what we asked for, that's what we got. So excited, we're working with the City of Clearwater on the land swap agreement that we'll bring to you next month. We also have funding partners with Forward Pinellas and, of course, FDOT. In addition, with the increase in the cost, I reached out to Pinellas County, and I asked if they would participate up to $10 million in this to help be the sort of the stopgap measure. And what I said to them is you will be last in the waterfall of money. And what I mean by that is that we're going to use everybody else's money first, and then we'll use their money last, which mitigates their risk in this process. And I also said, you know, we have a reputation for coming on pretty much on time and under budget on our projects. So I'm so excited about this project to move forward, as I'm sure you are, Commissioner Albritton. So I'll turn it back to Al.
Madam Chair, on the second slide, we talked about the 3 pillars, and one of those was sustainability. And in line with that, I am so glad that we have placed an order for 36 out of the 60 electric buses. We're funding for that with $18.4 million in bus and facilities discretionary. And more good news, we were awarded $18 million from the Volkswagen settlement monies. I'm proud to be a member of PSTA because we led the procurement for this great state of Florida in the electric bus, as you all know. And what that enables us to do is to be able to put our orders in at a higher priority. Why is this important? Because we're able to get our orders in before the prices escalate for the next annual year. As the Chief Operating Officer would say, Mr. James Bradford, I'm going to turn it over to Nick Sagan to take us out.
Thanks, Al. And of course, the Sunrunner. As a St. Petersburg resident and a longtime beach lover, you know, I'm personally really excited for the grand opening of the Sunrunner. You know, our grand opening is next month, and we hope to see you all there. With having said all that, Chair Gerard, I'll hand it back to you with any questions.
Thank you. I just have one question about one of the grants, the TD Tampa Bay service. So somebody could get a ride here and go over to Moffett, say, with just one. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's great. That's wonderful.
it is a very popular program.
I bet. Other questions?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, wait a minute. Let me find my thing here.
Yeah, along those lines, Madam Chair, I am super, super happy that we got those funds for TD, because you don't know how many people can use that to get world-class service, especially at Moffett. I go to Moffett, and what can I say? It's $3.50, am I correct, for
Yeah.
TD? No,
Wow.
and it's got to be cash, though, because it can't be Flamingo or anything like that.
Well, you can get an Uber or a Lyft, and then you,
Uber and Lyft, and you,
or taxi, yeah.
okay, so then you could pay them with a debit card or
Yeah.
anything like, okay. But believe me, gang, and I know this was fought hard through our legislative committee
Yeah.
to get them to do it up in Tallahassee, and you don't even know the world of difference this makes in some people's lives. You got Moffitt, you got LifeLink, which are folks that are going for like kidney transplants, generally dialysis patients, liver, heart transplants over at Tampa Gen. Just amazing things can now happen to our people from Pinellas County and not have to pay $110 each way to get over there on a private ride. So God bless you and thank you.
Thank you. That's good to hear. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. It's time for public comment. Do we have any cards for public comment? No? Did this, no? Okay.
I don't see anybody rushing forward.
This is usually the case. Okay,
Oh,
Do you have one?
okay.
yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Sure.
Thank you. My name is Angela Taylor Sweet, and I represent the National Council on Educational Policy, affiliated faith-based organizations of America. And I just want to thank, just commend your CEO as well as everyone else who works at PSTA for applying for the Justice 40 initiative, only one in the state. Because you wanted to do something about South Side, and not just economic disadvantage, of course, it's transportation disadvantage, but economically disadvantaged. There's a lot of things that need to be done on the South Side, and if we can begin with a transportation program for our seniors and other vulnerable, different ability riders. And so I just want to thank you for your excellence. Thank you for your compassion, and thank you for just going out there and saying, listen, you know what, we got to do something. And so I just want to say thank you on behalf of everybody else who will benefit from this program. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, we're on 2F. Now for the record, I must make this announcement again. For the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority, the fiscal year 2023 proposed millage is .7500. The fiscal year 2023 rolled back rate is .6675. The fiscal year 2023 proposed millage rate of .7500 is 12.36% greater than the rolled back rate. PSTA's millage rate limit is .7500. And Nikki's going to read the resolution for us.
Resolution 2201, a resolution of the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority fixing the tentative millage rate to be levied for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2022 and ending September 30th, 2023, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the tentative millage?
Move approval of the tentative millage. This is Renee Flowers.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Flowers, second from Mayor Saraki. Can you bring up the voting card screen?
Discussion, Madam Chair?
Yeah, I asked for questions before, but go ahead.
Oh, okay, there was no question, just discussion. So, so the maximum rate that PSTA can ever do is .075. And so this will be the 7th year in a row that we've maxed out at the millage that we could. Property values have increased. We're talking about, at this point, we're gonna max out on our taxpayers for every commercial property, 10%, which we haven't done that in many years. 3% on everybody that has, this is a tax increase on every single citizen in this county, and it's a big one. It's the biggest one we've had in a long time. We're gonna have a 3% tax increase on every homestead. We're gonna have a 10% tax increase on every commercial property. Now, we're already complaining about inflation, cost of lumber, cost of fuel, and now cost of rent, and now every apartment building is gonna get a 10% tax increase, not only from PSTA, but from other cities. The county isn't even going at a maximum rate. We're rolling ours back. Cities aren't rolling it back, PSTA isn't rolling them back, and yet we're in a really bad inflationary process. And yet PSTA for 7 years in a row has kept their millage rate the same with inflating property taxes, inflating property values. Next year, the way it works, we'll probably have inflated taxable values, but the following year, the way it's leveling off now, and I talked to realtors today, the numbers we're getting today are 30 days old. The property values are leveling off and they're coming down. And we've been through this before, where property values, we had to do a roll forward rate, not a roll back rate, just to get it back. But I'm looking at 7 years where PSTA has done nothing to preserve their millage rate by increased property values and lowering it to a 0.7 something. So when property values go down, they have something to go for. And 7 years now in a row, you've just maxed up, taken the money, taken the increases, taken the increase, and taken the increase. I don't know what our reserve rates are. Brad hasn't called me to talk about the budget at all this year, so I don't know what they are, and, you know, I haven't been on this committee very long, but I have real concerns that for 7 years in a row, we have maxed out, and I don't know what kind of plans we have to sustain this budget if the property values go down. And so I have real concerns about adopting this millage rate for lots of reasons. Inflation and tax increases on our citizens during a very difficult, they've gone through a really difficult 3 years. 2 years of COVID, 1 year of inflationary costs to every single family, insurance costs, fuel costs, food costs, everything. And then we're gonna institute these high tax increases. And unfortunately, so many cities are all going at the max, and PSTA is doing the same thing. But my biggest concern is the sustainability of PSTA. The fact that with all these increases, these were opportunities that we could have rolled that back. And then when the property values come down, we have the ability to not be at our max and have a way to sustain our budgets. But the way we've done it for 7 years, how are we gonna sustain this? We can't go higher than 0.750. How are we gonna sustain that? And I would love an explanation on that, because I don't know how to sustain that. And I promise you, in 2 years, we're gonna be talking about, where are we gonna get the money now? Are we going to go to the county? Are we gonna be begging the state? Are we gonna do a tax referendum asking for money to sustain PSTA? Because we weren't responsible when we had an opportunity, when prices were going up, to roll back this to ensure that we had a buffer. And I don't see that. And so I know I sound passionate. Sometimes people mistake my passion for angry. It's not angry, it's passion. But, you know, when I was on PSTA years ago, we were so worried that we were gonna hit this cap and how we're gonna sustain ourselves. Sustainability was the big conversation. And that was, what was that? That was during the recession. And we didn't know what we were gonna do, and what if we hit that cap? What if we hit that cap? And I see since I left, we've hit that cap. And we don't seem to be all that concerned about how we're gonna sustain it afterwards. And so 7 years now, you guys have been at that cap. I haven't been here in these 7 years that you've been there. But I really think that this year, out of any year, this was a year that we could have rolled that back and allowed for us to have a cushion for future years and not continue being at that max. And so I'm concerned about that. So no way am I going to support this at a maximum 7.5. I think for the last year or two, we should have been rolling this back, even if it was a 0.02% or a 0.01%. I think that we should have been fiscally responsible to ensure the sustainability of PSTA, and I'm concerned that that's not going to be there 2 years from now, keeping this at a 0.75, which is our max. So there's my tirade, and that's that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else before we take a vote? Yes.
Maybe if Councilwoman Peters could explain to me just a little bit how lowering the taxes back for next year means we would have more money in the future.
All that is creating the cushion with your millage rate. Currently, by law, you can't raise your millage past 1.75, correct, Brad? Is that correct?
0.75, right?
0.75. So you have been maxed at 0.75. This will be your 7th year now. Right? Now, when I was on PSTA back in 2010, I think it was 2010, 2011, or where were we? Well, I don't even have that rate now. We were at lower than the 0.73, because 2012 we were at 0.73 and I wasn't with PSTA. And we were so worried that if we hit that max, we would have nowhere to go. We couldn't raise it. And if we went through a recession like we did in 2008, the only way to make the same amount of money is to do a roll forward, right? You can't do a roll back because taxable values are going to decrease, so you have to do a roll forward. So you have to raise the millage just to raise the same amount of money that you raised the year before. Well, the fact that you're at the maximum, you don't even have that option. In 2 years, when the property values go down, and they are already starting to go down, the prices that were there a month ago are already coming down. At this point, there are more people reducing the price of their homes for sale than there are people listing their homes for sale. So the property values, not next year, you're not going to see it next year, but the following year are going to be lower. And the only way that we can meet these salary increases and the pensions that go with it if we end up in a recession, we're gonna have to do a roll forward just to raise the same amount of money that we had in the budget today. But if we don't have a cushion, we don't have the ability to roll forward if we're maxed out at 1.75. We have no ability to roll forward. No ability whatsoever. So if we end up in a recession, we have no ability, because we've been maxed out for 7 years and we've done nothing to lower that millage rate while property taxes were he wanted an explanation, I'm explaining it, I'm sorry if
I
you
know,
think
you're
it's long.
repeating yourself all the time.
But bottom line is, and I said this before, I'm sorry if I'm not clarifying or articulating it clear enough for you to understand, but we will not have the ability to do a roll forward. Won't have the ability to do it. And so, then what?
So if I'm correct in assuming that if we would roll the millage back to .73, we could raise it up to .75 anytime we wanted.
Yes,
But if we keep it at .75, what would we have to do to make it .78?
you can't.
We can't.
It's against the law.
Well, my city did it.
Our limit
Your
for
PSTA
PSTA
has a
is.
statutory-
PST can't do it?
PSTA has a maximum statutory limit of .7500.
Okay, I understand.
Do you understand? Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Albritton.
Yeah, so Kathleen, in response to what you're saying, I'm going to ask a question to Brad. What do we have in reserves?
Debbie has the exact number.
It fluctuates during the course of the year, but we usually typically have around 25 million that we have in reserves outside of our 2 months' worth of operating reserves and our self-insurance reserves.
So do we have a percentage that we like to keep above, like an 8% reserve rate? I mean, what is,
We
We-
do. The board has approved a reserve fund of 2 months of our operating, equivalent to our 2 months of our operating. The 25 million that Debbie is describing is in our long-term financial plan to be able to have balanced budgets out into the future,
Yeah.
even assuming that property values are gonna go down in the future. In order to have a balanced budget, we're gonna be using all those funds.
Right, and if we were to Commissioner Bennett's question, and I feel your passion as a taxpayer, but if we were to lower the rate, we wouldn't collect enough money to be able to sustain ourselves when those bad times come.
So I guess my next question would be, if that's okay, if you'll indulge me.
Excuse me, we might have.
I don't know how to question. I do have a question.
Are you?
well, that was just, that's all I wanted to say was that's how we, by having a hefty reserve, that's how we plan for the future for, when the times aren't so good, good as they are. Now, I know that this has been a topic on everybody's agenda this year, is to talk about, because everybody's, we're 12.36 above what we made last year with the rollback, at the same amount. So are we willing to give back to the taxpayers a little bit to say, hey, this has been a good year? Clearwater may be doing that tomorrow night, but that's something that probably should have been brought up a while back to discuss if we wanted to do that. I think we're on our first reading tonight, so it'd be kind of hard to, I guess you could do it right up, you can always decrease it, but I think that the reserves we have will protect us in the future,
Just to answer your question, you're correct. You can go down from this evening, but you cannot go up. So if you were to vote on a tentative millage that is lower, you cannot raise that in the final millage hearings, but you could make the decision at the final budget hearing or millage hearing to go down. Does that make sense? I think
Yeah.
that's what you said. You can go down, but not up on your
Right.
second reading. Yes.
So all I'm saying, it might be a wise move for the board to say, look, PSTA had a good year. We got a lot of things on the future horizon that we're planning for that are very important, as do most of our cities. But, you know, we may think that we could give something back. You know, we're, even at a 2%, like for Clearwater, $1 million held back is about $7 to the, per 100,000 to the normal homeowner. So, but, I mean, we're dealing at a different, you know, millage rate there, but just something to think about.
Mr. Peter?
Thank you. So I guess my question is going to be for you. So when you say we have 10 months, so what % of the general fund is that?
We have 2 months.
We have 2 months of
Well,
reserves.
I get it's 2 months, but the general rule for government, and I'm talking local government, is a 15% of the general fund. What % is that 2 months of the general fund?
14.6,
I'm sorry?
14%.
Yeah.
So you're kind of just below what the average should be. So the average is about 15%. So how much of this proposed budget is going into reserves? So how much is
$1
for-
million.
So 1 million, okay, so $1 million is going into reserves for the future. But if we have a 2008 and we can't do a roll forward, how quickly would we go through that 14% in the general fund? Because you have no ability to raise your millage rate.
Right, I think we would have to take a look, as you had mentioned, we're always looking, and I know you haven't been on the board in a while, but when we raised the millage, it was in anticipation of not necessarily having the best times ahead. So I took a look at it from cost containment, which we have saved millions of dollars. We have taken a look at financial diversity to be able to increase our revenues, and we would probably go through that fairly quickly. Now, one of the things when Al was saying we're one of the most cost-effective transit authorities in the country, we typically, in any transit authority, your largest factors are your personnel. We are at about 58% of our budget is in personnel, including salaries and fringes. That is well below the average of most transit authorities or most companies. So we will have to be very creative in how we handle things. One of the things, when I had the county taking a look at our forecasts, they thought perhaps we were a little light in what we were anticipating for property tax, which was good news for me.
Okay. So, and I'm almost done, so if you'll indulge me, Madam Chair. So I poured through the budget, and I really think you do a great job, and I don't mean to sound like I'm criticizing you, I'm not. I just remember when I was on the board in 2010, 2011, I mean, we were in crisis mode. I mean, we were in crisis, and we were so worried about hitting that max, and we didn't want to do it. And I feel like it was yesterday. I really do. I feel like it was yesterday. And then I look and I come here and I see that for 7 years you've been maxed out. And I get how you want to build up those reserves. I understand that completely. I was the mayor of a city. I understand it completely. I've had many levels of experience at government. So I understand it. But my question is, the $1 million we have today for what we're going to put in the reserves, if we were to, let's say, only put 500,000 in there, and we were to lower that millage rate, you know, and let's say we did it again next year, you know, you say we're going to go through it really quickly, but if we don't have the ability to do a roll forward in a recession, which we don't, if we vote for this budget, we don't, you know, it's hard to predict how much more damage would there be if we just lowered it a little and gave the taxpayers a break this time, and then started protecting ourselves so that we had the ability to do a roll forward if we needed to.
And I look at it, with all due respect, I look at it a little differently,
Okay.
that by having it at the current millage rate, we are able to set aside $1 million. If the market drops, it's going to take me a whole other year before I can ever see an increase again. You know, and I think the Commissioner Flowers had mentioned it last time, the school districts who did some rollback rates previously have difficulty catching up. Because once you make that change, you don't really see the effect for a whole other year.
Okay.
Commissioner Cox. Oh, you're already there. Okay,
I'm red.
you're in.
I'm on? Yeah. Oh, hello. I read the other day that of the bus transit agencies in the United States, out of the top 100, or bottom 100, I should say, that Hillsborough was funded as number 98 out of the top 100. And we're number 99. All right, so we got one left to get to the bottom of the heap. Me personally, I don't live in a big fancy house, but we have a nice house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. But I get the benefit of the Save Our Homes and other benefits that my payment to PSTA, my 0.75, is less than $10, all right? And I believe there are a lot of people that are bus riders. I was a bus rider for quite a long time, that are in that same boat, and I don't think $2 or $3 is gonna make a difference to them. And what Tampa is, or Hillsborough, Hart is actually doing, or Hillsborough, let's put Hillsborough County Commission, is going to reenact a referendum in November for a penny tax again, which will not just go to transportation, but it'll go to potholes, it'll go to sidewalks, it'll go to numerous things for safety and for transportation. 45% of it goes to art, which makes a huge difference in their future. And it's already on, it's going, and I got a daggum good feeling that this thing's gonna pass again, okay, with all the kinks put out of it. What I would like to see is one agency, or I would like to see the county commission step forward and try to reenact an ability to get some kind of half-cent penny tax, not just for PSTA, but for all of our needs in transportation, meaning roads, potholes, pedestrian safety, lights, so on and so forth. And that would help to solve that need, and naturally, we can't do it in 2022. But I wish we could put a concerted effort to try to do this and do it correctly, and maybe follow Hillsborough's lead. They had a dang good lead on it, because it just wasn't for buses. They didn't sell it as buses, you know. There's a lot of road work that needs to be done over there, and a lot of safety features need to be done over there. And we need the same thing right here, and we need a funded bus service. And we can't, like Commissioner Peter said, that we can't roll up, we can't ask for more money for this. The legislature said, no, that's it. So that's not an option. So let's look at other options. We do well with grants, the VW. How amazing is that, you know, to get 18 buses? And this agency and its staff is super at getting extra money from the feds, from the state, and so on and so forth. So I differ from what Commissioner Peter says, that roll back 2%, and maybe everybody gets a couple, $3, $5, $10. Some may get more that have fancier houses and all that. But I really, I'm for this, that's all I gotta say. And I'm for us seeking other avenues, like most cities in the United States do, and have either some kind of sales tax, gas tax, or something to help fund their local transit agency. A local transit agency is for everybody. It's not just bus riders, it's for students going to school now, and we're making inroads there. And I think we should do our best to make sure this is funded the best we can. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? We have a motion on the floor here.
Do you have a motion and a second?
We do have a motion and a second. Did you got that? Yes. Oh, okay. Oh, and we need the two, Commissioner Flowers, how do you vote?
I vote yes, I made the motion. Yes, can you hear me?
Right, yes, thank you. Commissioner Schulman?
Yes.
Okay. That is. Yes. Motion passes 10-2. Oh, thank you. Okay. Now it's time for, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's time for public comment on the proposed FY 2022 budget. Do you want to read the rest? Do we have any public comment?
Is there any public comment on the budget?
No.
I will read the resolution by title,
All right,
Madam
thank you.
Chair. Resolution 2202, a resolution of the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority adopting the tentative budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2022, and ending September 30th, 2023, for carrying on the duties and obligations of the authority and providing for an effective date.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the budget for 2023?
Commissioner Flowers, I made the motion to approve the budget for 2023
I made the motion.
as presented.
She wants to second.
Oh, I'm sorry, well, I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you. Any comments?
It's hard.
Yeah.
I'll play it, 'cause, yeah, that makes it harder, there's a delay. Okay, we're-
Sorry, I'm having some little issues. Can I have the motion in a second again?
we have a motion from, and a second from Commissioner Flowers. Well, yeah, we just call everybody commissioner here. Yeah. Makes it easier, actually.
There you go.
Okay. Oh, and Commissioner Flowers,
Yes,
Commissioner Schulman,
Yes.
thank you. Motion passes 12-1? No, 11-1, sorry, forgot how many we have. Okay. All right, our public hearing where we will adopt the final 2023 millage rate and operating and capital budgets will be held at the beginning of our monthly PSTA board meeting on Wednesday, September 28th, 2022 at 6 p.m. And if there's nothing else, this,
I'm going to email it to you.
Email, okay.
okay,
I withdraw my,
okay, well, you can bring it up next time.
yeah.
Okay,
That way you'll have it. So you don't-
Thank you very much.
all right. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, everyone.
Thank
Say
you.
what?
Thank you, Commissioner.
What? Yeah, oh, I know. We didn't have any money on that.
Call people on the bid.
Good thing.
Rachel, you need me to sign these? That's
All right, gang.
Gotta do the same thing.
See you again, Gina.
Thank you, guys.
Well, is this your last one?